still the technology.
Innovation.
Innovation.
Innovation through technology.
Pesa. Innovation
through technology. Technology transforms businesses. Mr. Sanz. Yes, Mr. Sanz.
Technology, business. Madam, take a photo you send me. Send me a photo, madam, you send me. Take a shot you send me.
Which internet are you using on that laptop? Okay, let me talk to Senator. But okay, so
like every other morning, we're brought to you with the Association of Bateway, www.bateway.co.zm. Like every other morning, obviously, we get to come back with the biggest headline. So now, as you have seen, we're coming to you live from the Lusaka Agricultural Showgrounds, and of course, we are here, the 94th edition of the Showgrounds, and this, of course, is coming after a few years of non-existence.
Where you are. So it's more of the virtual thinking. It's more of placing products online and getting the value that you need. So there's been a lot of value addition when it comes to business by embracing technology. So for me, I think technology is being used as a vehicle to expand our businesses. And you can see within a blink of an eye, you're able to reach 1 million plus people in need of your products. Be it whatever you're selling, in terms of a service that you're providing. So I think for me, this is a timely theme that all of us should be looking forward to in terms of expanding our businesses. And don't be left out, because as we speak, life has literally been reduced to either a phone or a tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of technology, obviously, and innovation in our country, with just recently we saw even the formation of the Ministry of Science and Technology. In advancing the technology that we have here in Zambia and Africa, how do you rate it? How is it, moving?
I think we're making progress. The fact that there's a deliberate policy to be able to focus on technology and innovation, it's important, and we need to be able to commend the current administration for having placed premium on technology, because you are aware that no society world over can be able to develop without embracing technology. So wherever you might be today, look, you can easily pick up a phone and begin to chat with someone from afar. And even when you look at the expansion of families, it's beyond who we are, in that once you're on the phone, you're part of the bigger global community. Yeah. You might be the two of you in the house, but yet you're chatting with millions of people. So it gives you an indication that all of us should not be left behind. And I hope that emerging or prospective tech engineers should be able to take this opportunity to expand their scope of thinking in terms of what kind of apps to develop.
Absolutely.
Yes, in terms of value adding. So I think for me, the emergence of technology has made it easier in terms of our existence. Today, you are able to order anything at any time from any part of the world. Today, you are able to engage from any part of the world. So for me, I think in terms of the levels of commitment, we need to continue pushing and ensure that we embrace technology to the fullest at all times.
All right, beautiful. And speaking of technology, obviously, we're also coming to you live on various social media platforms. And this is YouTube and Facebook on our social media handle, Us Movie TV. So please do tell us where you are joining us from or where you are watching us from. It could be on the Copperbelt province, within Lusaka, Central Province, Northwestern, Western, and of course, Eastern, Southern, everywhere else that you could be watching us from, and even beyond the continent of Africa. Tell us where you're watching us from, and do share with us what's your interpretation of the theme for this year's edition of the Lusaka Agricultural Show, and with the theme Innovation Through Technology and Tech Transforms Business. So on Facebook, we're live, and on our social media handle, Ask Movie TV. Put up your thoughts and everything. Likewise, and always keep up with the conversation and do share with us basically what you are thinking. And if you're also exhibiting within the showgrounds, please pass through the movie satellite stand, and I'll be able to give you and share with you what our services are. And Muse, with technology and business, it has been said a number of times, you have said to say the next billionaires in the next few years will be coming out from agriculture.
Yeah.
Is Zambia positioning itself in the best way? I know it has always been agriculture, but how are we also getting to improve the agricultural sector? Are we making headway?
Like you said, improving our methods of farming. Mechanization is one of those. Mm-hmm. And I believe that through the many technologies that we're able to develop, we'll be able to get there soon. And I hope that each one of us, every new farmer, we need to move away from the traditional ways of doing things and begin to embrace new methods of doing things. Right. And that new method ensures that there's efficiency. And one of the efficient ways of doing that is through the engagement and embracing of what is available before us. And what is available before us, our tools in terms of phones, so that we're able to communicate to the best of our abilities.
All right. So now just to run you through with what we have in the news. Obviously yesterday was a big day, and we cannot just be able to shy away from getting to give you the news that we had yesterday. Obviously it was the former Republican president, the former First Lady, Esther Lungu, who was appearing for the Drug Enforcement Commission. And of course, we saw earlier on before that, we saw of how there was a plan to offer solidarity by the Patriot Front members of Parliament and a few other supporters to say they need to go and offer solidarity for the First Lady because whatever is happening is some form of injustice. So yesterday, after an interrogation of about 2 hours, she was released, but the flats have been seized by DEC. And of course, a few more sympathizers were there, and there were a few glitches of not very violence, but there was some friction of sort in the police and the security wings trying to shield and be able to just make sure that there was total security and total peace. So now, that's with that happened. Mose, maybe just a run through, because we're projecting some form of violence, but did we get to see some form of violence, and how did the interrogation go?
I think amidst provocation, I need to say it and commend Police IG Lemmy Kajoba through his police officers for the job well done. Look, 10 months ago, what happened yesterday would not have happened. Today we would have been discussing how many people have been killed. Mm-hmm. But look, today we are discussing and we're peacefully sitting here to be able to jubilate in terms of what transpired. I think there was nothing unique yesterday that transpired. These things have happened before, where we've seen former first ladies being called before law enforcement agencies. Mm-hmm. You remember Madam Tandiwe Banda being called over the Mpundu Trust, yes, flats. Mm-hmm. And she appeared before the law enforcement agencies. And now we have former First Lady Esther Lungu appearing. I think nothing so much unique. These things have happened. If people have got doubt mm-hmm. in terms of your accumulation of wealth, of course, they will have to make a follow-up. And we need also to be able to commend the law enforcement agencies in terms of ensuring that all the wealth that we accumulate is well accounted for. Right. And so for me, I think nothing's unique, but it's what we've seen. Yesterday, social media was awash with certain pictures of one prominent lawyer telling off a police officer in the name of Mateo to say who was in charge of that nonsense. But look, when the police are there, we need to be able to commend them. Right. Because our behavior most of the times has been beyond comprehension. Mm-hmm. When the police are available, we want to insult them. When they are not available, we want to complain. And yesterday they were available to be able to ensure law and order. Like I've stated already in my preamble, that 10 months ago, something happened. In a similar incident, a lawyer dropped out of a car, approached the police, and a gun was pointed on his head.
Yeah.
But yesterday we saw, and I think we need to be happy with the levels of freedom that ordinary citizens have, and the tolerance that was exhibited by the police yesterday. So I think for me, it's a plus for the police. It's also a plus for this administration to ensure that our liberties and freedoms have been restored.
But look, and this is where maybe some people might beg to argue, especially those coming from the Patriot Front. Remember, the Information and Publicity Secretary of the Patriot Front, who's also a member of the Central Committee, Rafo Nakatinda, prior to, on the eve of that interview, he said this, regime, I know we got to read away from using the word regime, but this administration is way brutal and a very bad one because of how it's handling these corruption charges and the investigation. So if you say previously this is not what we saw, but what exactly do you mean? They'll say maybe they were bad, but this administration is worse than they were.
Keith, what is on the record? The last time such an incident happened, we had 2 people losing their lives. And these are just not ordinary citizens.
Yes.
These are parents that lost their lives. And here we are today, we are seeing in the manner and the tranquility in which the police officers operated yesterday. Imagine if it was previously. Yesterday we would have been talking about a number of people being killed. But today, that's why I told you, we should have every reason to be able to celebrate that no one died yesterday. That this exercise was conducted in a professional and cordial manner. I think it didn't even last the whole day. It was just for 2 hours.
For about 2 hours.
Yes. Clarifications and an ordinary statement was taken from the First Lady.
Yeah.
And the fact that, and what people fail to accept and get is that, look, it was just appearing before them and admitting that this is my property. And I think that's what happened yesterday. So now, with the investigation that they've done, they'll be able to pursue this matter through, up to the end.
Right.
So, and I think later in the day, there was a statement that they formally seized these properties.
Yes.
Because now, it was not just about verbal. It was something that had been written down on the paper to admit that truly these are my properties. What follows, we're expecting to see what they could be able to do. And for me, I think people should not take this as a prosecution. People should be above board and ensure that all of us...
Persecution or prosecution?
Both, I think.
All right.
Yes. Because mostly the thinking has been, oh, this is persecution. Persecution over what? Look, when you're given an opportunity or entrusted with the responsibility to be able to govern, you need to ensure that you govern to the best of your abilities. Unlike what we've seen at some point. It's an undeniable fact that even President Lungu himself admitted that there were gray areas within his administration. And those gray areas, he was going to address them. But sadly so, these gray areas were not addressed. And here we are now. The only thing that law enforcement agencies are trying to do is to be able to catch up, to find out. Because even me, I should be able to account for this suit and say, how did Muze get the suit?
But Muze is Muze.
Yes. So as long as I can account, then there will be no problem. So for me, I think those that are supporting the First Lady should not panic. All what they need to do is to ensure that we respect the rule of law. And we follow, promise each other that, look, and what takes away this, especially from the former head of state, is the fact that these are institutions that he presided over 10 months ago. So why should he be worried about institutions that he presided over 10 months ago? I saw yesterday Honorable Kampiongo trying to defend himself over the video that has emerged over Tintangombe. Chitintangombe. No, that had advised, and those we did to the core, this is... No. We need to be professional, and we need to be able to professionalize these institutions.
Right.
If there's nothing sinister that we did, or our leaders did, there should be no panic.
Why panic?
Yes, I wonder why there's this level of panic.
But
and like I said yesterday, even with solidarity, I gave examples of myself, that there are several times that I've appeared before these law enforcement agencies because of the nature of my office. But what have we seen? Mostly, people panic. So I think my appeal to the first family is not to panic. And I want to also to commend His Excellency yesterday, President Edgar Lungu, that whoever advised him to remain quiet did a very good job, because I think his tongue in the past has always landed all of us in trouble.
Like the whole country.
Yes, we've been tongue wrangling. Yes, over tongue wrangling here and about. But I think yesterday, great job. We saw also, I think, a husband figure. Where I insisted that I should be part of the investigations, where the wife was sitting, or the questioning where the wife was sitting. But for me, I think it also creates some level of panic within the officers. Because look, if I've summoned you, I've not summoned your wife. So it's about you.
And we're speaking of the former head of state.
Yes, speaking about the former head of state.
But let me get you back to the previous administration. I know if you make a comparison on how corruption is being fought in this administration, but they always a different argument altogether. They will say there were a number of times, the ministers, serving ministers, cabinet ministers, like that of then Health Minister, Honorable Chitaluchiluvia, who was, currently the Mansa Central Member of Parliament. And they were also questioned. So if you speak of fighting corruption, yes, the former president, Edgar Lungu, confirmed to say there was, corruption, but there was also will. So what makes this administration different? There were a number of ministers that, that also visited the commission's, offices to go and be questioned on a number of things.
Keith, like I've stated, there's nothing unique.
All right.
These are institutions we've created for ourselves. And as long as we've created these institutions for ourselves, we should be able to face whatever comes head on. But what we haven't seen most of the times is that people have been panicking. Why are they panicking? There's no reason to panic. Let's go to deck and be able to face these institutions. Once we do that, I think there will be no problem for me. And I'm expecting that going forward, look, it also gives the legitimacy to the previous government that it was doing everything right. But where you begin to pick everybody else and say, let's go and protest, it becomes a problem. Even when you're insulting officers. For me, what broke my heart yesterday was that engagement between a lawyer and a police officer. Both of them are supposed to be law enforcers. But what are we seeing? People want to differ. But I'm happy that there was no overzealousness on the part of the police. And here we are today. We're not talking about somebody being killed. We're not talking about somebody being brutalized. We are talking about the process having gone as it is expected. But we need to understand the behavior of the PF. Like people say, all leaders are Mugwira Kukamwa. At this stage, I understand it's a difficult period for them, but please, let's just be answerable to law enforcement agencies. And things will be easier for all of us. Yeah.
So let's get to look at, obviously, for some of the conversation we have already chipped in that are happening on various, that's on Facebook. So Wellington Chashifampundu says at least 2 people died, and those were not ordinary citizens. They were parents who, he's an ordinary citizen. All right, who is an ordinary citizen? All right. So Kasoni Amba says, nice looking, my brothers, and please tell IP to come back to his senses. He's becoming PF surrogate instead of working as a professional. All right, let's get to comment on the stories that we have, obviously, but we appreciate your feedback. And all right, Lewi Daka, is this guy called Mavuto a UPNB cadre or an employee from Movie TV? Mavuto, do you want to answer that question?
It's a very basic question, not ashamed of it.
All right.
I've always said it, that we differ in opinions.
Yes.
But one thing you should never do is to attack my character. Last week, I think it's earlier this week, when I challenged somebody to say, there are 2 seats here. Can we come and make our submissions? Because by the end of the day, we need to be able to create value in what we're doing. As long as we don't create value, then there'll be nothing that will be done. I can tell you, this morning, I came to this show a very upset man.
Yes.
You know why? Yesterday, the pictures that greeted Rundazi are something that should never be allowed.
Absolutely.
This administration of President Hakainde Hichilema has promised us that they will do things in tranquility and we shall not see political cadreism. But what did we see yesterday in Rundazi? Political cadreism. People went to block unlock a public facility that belongs to the Zambian people. Will I be happy? So, of course, no. So for me, I think what is key is that, one, President Hakainde Hichilema might be speaking in wilderness, might be speaking alone, because there's no following through of his directives. If there was a possibility, people should be able to follow through the directives.
Right.
By saying, and I can assure you that the cadres are not helping President Hakainde Hichilema. Because like what happened in Lundazi yesterday will be one of the evaluations in terms of what this administration is doing.
After their first tenure.
After their first tenure in office. So even if you accuse me, I was not happy with what happened yesterday. Whether I'm a press singer, whether I'm not a press singer, but as long as I'm a Zambian, I've got a voice to be able to add and condemn in terms of what happened yesterday. Yeah. Look, if people are being given to many of the conversations that were different from us, and the people were hiding. Right. But look, today we've got the freedom. We saw how a leader of the opposition could walk through the roof in this country because he had a different political ideology and idea. I think that is something that should never be allowed.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we keep up, obviously, engaging you, the people that are following us. And, all right. So Emmanuel Singoma says, Mavuto, you are indeed a real patriot. You are always objective. Keep on the good work. And, of course, all right. Victor Sikufa says, Mavuto, keep it up. You're in the right direction. And Moise says, this panel is not balanced at all, whereby we have both host and the guest are UPND cadres. All right. we always get to have the feedback that you are giving us, and if you contribute, we are always appreciating like every other day. So equally, I call Reza a Reza. Okay. All right. Now, Aina Nambo Makumbi, I think you are who a cadre doesn't want to hear the truth. All right. And Leonard Muingajelo says, good morning, brothers. Nice talk. But my question is, whose problem between president and the people who do not want to follow
but overall,
I was getting to this question, I think.
Overall, it's the people at the bottom that create the challenges for the presidents. Yes. It's the people or the persons or individuals that are linked. Look, leadership is identified by your capability to be able to lead those that are beneath you.
Right.
Yes. So the president has given instructions that he doesn't want to seek adherism. You remember at one time, even at State House, when he told Lusaka provincial chair to say, if you have a problem with the party, can we meet at the secretariat? And this is a challenge and an indictment on the UPND leadership to be able to engage with the presidency and say, Mr. Presidency, these are our demands. Look, we've been left out. Clearly, the expectation from the UPND was that when UPND forms government, AFRICA-LITOVIA.
Like what they saw.
Like what they saw. UPND cadres thought they would take over in bus stations as commanders. UPND thought they would take over in public institutions even when they thought they were not qualified. But even 2 days ago, the president indicated to those that are in charge of public institutions that the fact that there was a change of government, you need to be able to conform to the attributes, to the aspirations of a new governing political party called the UPND. But the UPND did not just impose itself there. It was given a mandate and a responsibility to be able to govern. By who? The Zambian people. So overall, when you look at this conversation, it's about the Zambian people.
All right.
So whether you're UPND, the bigger picture is that you, especially those in the governing political party, they need to provide leadership at all levels.
I want you to
even these projects, for instance, in Lundazi, that have allegedly been awarded to other people, have they been given to Zambians? I could have had a problem if these projects had been given to foreigners. But the focus, and I've seen the focus and the ambition of the president, is to ensure that there's empowerment of the Zambian people.
But let's get to look at this. And I know this is a very, very honest question. I think I even posed it to the National Youth Chairperson of the UPND, Mr. Gilbert Liswaniso. on what they think previously, like many other people within the, the UPND, felt they were neglected too much at the expense of some patriot front cadres.
It's not easy. One thing you should realize is that
the question is, should they keep on suffering and being neglected even when their political party they supported for a number of years is in power?
I think we are at a time now that politics should not be our language. We are at a time that we need to build unity and consistency. The key point is, look, if President Hakainde Hichilema today said, cadres, go and do your part, we would not have been talking about a country that we're talking about today.
Right.
We should be happy that this country is peaceful. My friend, if, just if the PF had won power, this country would have been different.
What makes you think that, maybe that's why they're calling you a president? What makes you think like that when you're painting
Keith, I experienced it. I saw it. Even here, you see, it was last Saturday you were with one of them. Even in the opposition, they still want to intimidate you.
Right.
Yes. Even in the opposition, they still want to intimidate you. But look, there's one thing that happened. There was a retention to normalcy. There was the restoration of liberties. So for me, you can't just come and say, oh, Mafto is a press singer. Give value where it's supposed to be.
So, are you justifying...
I'm condemning what happened in Lundazi. Am I pressing? It's bad for Zambia. It doesn't build a good profile in the last 10 months. I think this is eating away in a legacy that is supposed to be built and anchored on honesty, on truthfulness, on hard working. If the cadres have a problem, they've got their structures. But look, if they are in Lundazi district, and why is it that there are problems in Lundazi? The party needs to be quicker to move in. You remember even Pumulo was complaining.
Yes, Pumulo, yes. So
those the same guys disowned him. But yesterday they were doing the same thing that Pumulo complained about. So the party leadership should be quicker in terms of saying, look, if I was party secretary general, I would have even quickly dispatched a team. Because why is it that Lundazi is a hotbed of all the miscommunication and confusion in the country so far under UPND?
And in their political party?
Yes. Lusaka, we saw the other time in Kafue, when the cadres went to the DEB's office and they wanted to start removing people, aligning them to the PF. But their chairman, provincial chairperson, the president has said it already. If you propagate violence in this country, you are on your own. I'm not with you.
But let me ask this question again. I think you haven't really responded to it. Let's get to look at the people that supported UPND for a very long time, qualified Zambians, and to some extent they may call themselves competent, but they were neglected at the expense. On the
all of us
supported the UPND.
All of us were neglected. All of us were neglected. All of us were neglected. Were teachers not neglected?
Or they should be prioritized?
No. Prioritizing should be about Zambians. All of us should have the same potential before any job.
Right.
That is what is key. Today, we're talking about how many teachers have been recruited. 30,000.
Yes.
Friday, probably we'll be talking about how many? 11,000 health workers. We're talking about young people that have just graduated from school. How many of them are we going to employ in terms of census?
Right.
Plenty of them. So for me, Keith, if you begin to look at leadership with a political lens, you have a problem.
Right.
And clearly, there should be acceptance by the PF. I understand those who are sympathetic to the PF. Their thinking was that they will hand over power to themselves. Did they? That doesn't make me a press singer. I'm a believer of democracy. I'm a believer of the change of government. There are moments that I've wholeheartedly commended President Lungu for the job well done. There were certain things he did so well. Yes, there's infrastructure. But equally at the problem, because it was done at a certain cost. But Keith, today we have an opportunity to point it at President Hakainde Hichilema in the face and say, Mr. President, this we don't want. This is what we rejected. And the president has answered us that if you do violence, you are on your own. And the Eastern Province Police Command should be able to act on the cadres that misbehaved yesterday in Lundazi. If possibly, take them to prison forever. The president has told us. You see, the president's word at any function of fora is a command. So the commander of the armed forces has already issued a directive in terms of how cadres should be. You know, me, I always say one thing. Yeah. Cadres are the same. They just change jerseys. Immediately there's a change of government. The same cadres who were in PF are now in UPND. And the behavior doesn't change.
All right.
I will not have a problem if the people of Lundazi will get the empowerment.
Right.
Whether they are PF, but as long as the common denominator is that they are Zambians.
All right, indeed, very beautiful. And just to give a brief background to the story that we have in Lundazi. Now, confusion Tuesday morning characterized the Lundazi.
And one thing also, what were the objectives? If you are a political cadre of the UPND, what were your set objectives? That is a moral question that all of us should be able to ask. Of course, one of the set objectives of the UPND was that there is equity in the distribution of resources.
National.
Yes, there was equity. Secondly, that there was sanity in the administration of public affairs.
Right.
Have these things not come back? If they have, we should all be happy. So look at the objectives in the last 10 months. And that's what I'm saying. If these were the set objectives, UPND should be able to pat themselves and say, this is what we've done. For me, instead of protesting like that, they are supposed to be holding solidarity marches or Thanksgiving rallies, going back to the people to say, thank you for giving us it. It should be their responsibility to educate the members of the public and say, these are projects that we're working on.
Right.
So if we are working on what they were doing, even in secrecy, they need to continue doing it. Because you know, it was not easy to campaign for UPND. Right. PF was powerful. It was a government within a government for the government by itself. Have you got my definition?
Say that again. Say that again. Oh, it was a tongue twisting. All right. So as I was just giving a brief background to the incident that happened in Lundazi, there was confusion Tuesday morning, and it was characterized at the Lundazi Civic Center in Eastern Province when suspected ruling UPND cadres Tuesday morning stormed the premises and locked the gate. Now, the angry cadres were demanding an explanation from the local authority on the allocation of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, and they complained irregularities in the allocation have disadvantaged party structures. Let me get to you, Steve. After this story happened yesterday, I spoke with one of the UPND members. I withhold the name for security reasons. So he says, Keith, here is a situation where we're looking at the maybe council chairperson is from the Patriotic Front. We look at the member of parliament for that constituency is the Patriotic Front, and there are cooperatives and obviously coming from the UPND and Zambians combining.
But look, that's where I would come to the defense of those that are sympathetic.
This is what they are saying. You see, to them is a problem.
Keith, don't be lazy in thinking. Be creative in thinking.
Look at what he was telling
you. See, is the environment not conducive to be able to do business? I think 2 days ago, I was editing a story that must have been from Zambia, where the CEO was saying and commending the new Dawn administration for creating a conducive environment for businesses to flourish. We are sitting here. It's one of the modes of ensuring that there's a conducive environment for business to flourish.
Yes.
Let's take advantage of what is happening in this country. Like I've told you, as long as you see things from a political lens, you'll not go anywhere. That I can assure you. Look at the things from a patriotic perspective. That I'm a Zambian, I deserve the same opportunity like everybody else. I will have a problem if I go to a public office and I'm not attended to in the manner I'm supposed to be attended to.
Right.
You saw how the president openly showed chief executive officers of companies how Zambians are complaining. The cost of doing business is too high. Today, if you're a small-scale businessman and you started a business, do you know how much you pay in terms of licensing? Almost 10 pin is gone. You haven't even started running a business.
Yeah.
But now we've got a person who understands business, and we are optimistic that we'll be able to make it understand and make it easier for all of us, you and me, do business. Not from a political perspective,
Yes.
but from a nationalistic perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, if today I developed an app as a Zambian, why should I have a problem? What should be key is that, will my app sell? Even ourselves, we need to begin to change our approach towards local businesses. Look, previously, people would only get empowerment funds because they belonged to a political party. And I'm happy this has happened in Undazi, that the UPND structures have not gotten the funding.
And they're crying.
And they are crying. And that's the way it should be. If you don't see it that way, it's not my fault. But I'm happy that they didn't get the funding.
Oh, right.
But that another Zambian got the funding. The question that we should be asking here is, did anyone get the funding?
Absolutely, yes.
If there's anyone got the funding, then I'm happy. Because this is what the UPND aspired for.
For Zambians to be getting the
For Zambians to be able to get the opportunity. When the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Child Development previously awarded these empowerment funds, all we could see are UPND cadres. But today we should be happy that the UPND are the ones that are crying, yet they are in government. You don't feel happy?
All right. So it's very the show. We have a theme of innovation through technology and tech transforming business. Obviously, we are asking you to also join in the conversation, and there's been a very, very interesting, conversation with institutions. Today is also a very, very big day, having the agriculture sector as one of the major drivers of our economy. Now, with the farmers that were lamenting to say, even if they get to farm a lot of, pineapples, they did not have the market. Today, the cannery will be commissioned. How are we looking forward to it? How are the people or the farmers?
I think the common denominator for me, Keith, is that it's all about empowerment. Also, yesterday, I think in Northwestern, we saw the commissioning of the biggest nickel mining project in this country.
Yes.
Actually, in Africa.
In Africa.
Keith, Zambians are not asking for anything. Why UPND was voted for was to facilitate for economic emancipation. This conversation we're having here, it's centered on political independence. But we need to go beyond that. And we can't hide that truly, yes, there have been isolated incidences where even our political freedom has been threatened. But one thing I'll tell you is that the mandate of the UPND government, as defined by the Zambian people, is well clarified.
Right.
It's economic emancipation. Even in Undazi, the cadres are complaining. You know what they're complaining about? They are complaining about taking part in economic activities. And that's where we need to go to. Previously, it's how powerful you were and what kind of a boot you'd put on, or military regalia. But now, our focus should be able to change. And when I look at these development projects, you've spoken about the cannery in Northwestern. Yesterday also, we're talking about the nickel mining.
Yes.
Even when people were making noise yesterday at DEC, you know why even those were protesting? Is because they don't have the opportunity. We need to be able to ensure that our most productive resource, which is the youth, which is in numbers already, is given something to do. And we need to ensure that there is what I call economic emancipation. And every day I think President Hakainde Hichilema should be reminded that Zambians are not asking for handouts. I'll tell you, whether you like it or not, we are some of the most hardworking people. But opportunities have been lacking, especially in terms of facilitating and ensuring that there's economic emancipation. Yes. And the language should be economic emancipation. And that's why I was happy with that engagement, that there are these public offices. But these public offices also, I heard, I think it must have been from Pakra, where they were complaining that the establishment don't have people already to be able to fulfill and ensure that the mandate of government is well executed. If there are people missing, there are plenty of educated people. Let's replace them and ensure, look, our population is small, but let's enhance on economic emancipation. Let Mavutopiri be running his business. Let you be running your business. And let's encourage Zambians to buy from each other. Yeah. This country will be different. So for me, if you talk about these projects, I'm very happy and excited that they're happening. And I hope to see more projects in the east, more projects in the west, more projects in the south. And once there is that fair and equal distribution of resources, look, we should not be talking about resources. We are one of the most endowed countries. I've always said and told you that even if you are to give me a job in government today, don't take me abroad. Leave me around here. That's where the resources are. Let me be an active participant in terms of how certain things are done. So for me, I think if we look at the available opportunities, what is key is that, one, there is this opportunity to be able to build and ensure that there is economic emancipation. Yes. Look at technology. Technology is one of those platforms that is allowing us to facilitate and utilize it to grow our businesses. Yes. Yes.
And looking at, obviously, the cannery in Northwestern Province, I want you to say something, because I think you've made this statement before. What was the idea behind maybe shielding some of these natural resources? Remember, but they serve them for the future.
Yes.
Should we be preserving some of these natural resources, or we should exploit them and be able to build this country? I don't know. What could be your thought on
I think there should always be a balance in terms of exploitation of resources.
Right.
And even when you look at the UNIP administration, there was a lot of clarity provided. Look, every portion of this country is endowed with these resources. But the challenge is the utilization. One thing for sure that we need to be able to do is that how do we enhance to ensure that these resources are well protected? Right. So if these resources are well protected, each and every portion of the land should be able to help us in terms of succeeding. Right. Keith, you can get to any part of this country. There's always something unique. And what are we talking about in terms of uniqueness? What is unique is that our people have an opportunity to get empowered. And like I've said, it's economic emancipation. And if you look at the Northwestern Province, previously, look, if you get to Malawi today, everybody will be looking for a drink with a national identity. And they'll tell you, if you're getting to Malawi, buy me sobo. Yes. And it should be the same me.
If you're going to Zambia,
you get to Mwinilunga looking at partnerships.
Right.
How do we enhance these partnerships? If we've got the resources, and there are people out there with the money. Because by the end of the day, we'll be looking for the market. Yes. So if there's this opportunity, let's be able to use this to the best of our abilities. And that's what I've told you. Yes, the investments are coming. Yes. By the end of the day, we should be asking ourselves, do our people have got the opportunity to be able to flourish? Let's build the economic emancipation like we've always said.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you're still watching the special edition of the Breakfast Show, and we're coming to you live from the 94th edition of the Lusaka Agriculture and Commercial Show. And we have a theme, innovation through technology, and tech transforms business. I'm wondering, a lot of you that have been commenting on Facebook, there's no one, literally no one, that has given an interpretation of this particular theme. Anyway, so how is tech, transforming different businesses? And
look, even us with technology, previously we would have had a big old Vivan here.
Yes,
but now, look at the studio we have now. Yes. So that's the beauty of what technology and the potential that it poses. So for me, I think this is an exciting period. And I think as we go in the future, we'll come to the show with the more smaller equipment. Even if you look at our submissions that we are making, look at where we started from and look at where we're heading to. Yes. So the opportunities are there. But it's about being creative. Yeah.
All right. So maybe just even next year we'll be just be coming and just be standing, and everything else will be done from up in the air or anywhere else. This is the beauty of technology. All right. All right, so Jim Jemwinga says Mavuto Piri and Keith Mumba looking stunning. And all right, so Mavuto Mwaka says, boss, I came here to
To confirm.
why you're not picking up the phone call. But didn't she see you that you're on air for her to be calling?
I think TV now is as simple as it started.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful, and it's very interesting. So keep up with the conversation. I know the director needs to guide as to whether we'll be able to pick up phone calls a little bit later, because I know there's always, and already there's been people that have been wanting to comment on and give us the views on what they think about today's topics or reasons or stories that we have. So we'll ask you that you stay glued and share with us where you are watching us from on this special edition of the the breakfast show today. Moving on, Mose, as we go along and be able to find out one of the key messages that the president, as he was engaging the chief executive officers of quasi-government institutions and statutory bodies, was that of wastage and no more buying of the VXs that we see these people driving. What do you make of that? Should we now demand them to be buying them cheap cars, or what was the gist in that statement by the president?
I think what is key is that they should be delivery to the principal.
Right.
And who is the principal? It's the Zambian people. These are the people that have employed you. But most of the things are done at their expense. Today, you get to one of the parastatals, the first thing you demand for is a car, even before service delivery.
Yes.
I think, and by the end of the day, you realize that the company declares losses. So I think, for me, what should be key is that even when you're declaring, you can only buy a car when you've made excesses.
And these, they're also entitled, aren't they entitled to such things?
They are, but only when, Keith, and this is the mentality of a Zambian. Even today, if you were open to open a company, the first payment that you'll be given, you want to go and buy an island.
The payment, probably, yes, to pass the path.
You see, even before you get that payment, you've already promised people, Kazange and Congo the same. You see, so for me, I think it should be different. The focus in terms of the management of business should be different. First of all, you can only be able to buy that additional vehicle once you've built the business itself. Business should not be about you as an individual. The business should flourish. You should only be able, because you are a vision carrier. So what do vision carriers do? Create value addition within and around their communities.
You know what, I'm thinking maybe to a different view. What usually happens when you are appointed as CEO of business, change the narrative. If you are given a position as a director, CEO, you work for 5 years. And after that, if you have delivered, then you get your brand new car from a showroom.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. But and
because you've made excess.
Yes, there's excess money. We see even here at national level, the president will go and buy himself a jet. Yet you will be told, can you tighten your belt? I think the narrative should begin to change. And how do we change this narrative? Is to ensure, and I was happy, one thing that he said, look, even our working model has been embedded in 8 hours. But now the president says, it's about delivery. You are not knocking off until you deliver. And that's more like the concept of the Chinese. Today you give them a contract, they'll tell you 6 months. I give you a contract today, you go for good, you're never back on site. But the Chinese will do it.
Delivery.
Yes.
Not how long you stay on site, not how long you stay in the office.
No, but it's about delivery. What have I delivered? Even me, by the end of the day, I should be able to introspect.
So it's not about getting to the office at 8 or 7, then you wait for 7 or 5 in the evening.
Yes. If it means I've got a job that I'm supposed to do for a week, let me do it in 2 days. So that tomorrow I focus on doing other things and expanding other things.
Right.
That's the way it should be. So, look, the fixing itself should be based on mentality.
Right.
We need to be able to fix our minds. And once that is done, then we would have done it to the best of our abilities.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting. And with the conversation of business, obviously, so what is it that the business sector will be able? I know with technology and just this last week we hosted some academy for space being launched here in Zambia. And I think we're making headway in terms of technology. And this actually it's today they'll be launching that particular academy of space, because many people, if they hear of space, or they always think of maybe it's just because of the whites that will be able. It's about NASA going to the moon and going to the what. But these are things, and these are the lessons that we have brought now here in Zambia that we'll be able to learn. And obviously, in terms of space business, this will come with different professions as well to be involved in these sectors.
Yeah, it's very important that, like I've stated, as much as we speak about innovation, let's speak about creativity.
Yes.
It's the only way that we'll be able to value add and create value for ourselves. But mostly, we've been spectators. Look, even when you talk about car assemblies, the last time when the car assembly was in Livingston, and no wonder that we keep importing second-hand vehicles when it should not be like that. Look, the second generation of vehicles, I'm sorry to digress a bit, the second generation of vehicles are electric vehicles.
Yes.
Yet you've got the copper wire. Copper wire will be the most sought after commodity in the world. So, as a country, how are we positioning ourselves? How are we speaking to Benz to be able to bring them here? How are we? So, look, we are a country where, you see, in terms of resources, we can be compared to being a virgin. So how do we take advantage of that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what is key. So even when you're having conversation, how do you take advantage of that?
Right.
Yes.
So with the natural resources as well, and in terms of technology, there is need to explore and just to make sure that Zambia gets to grow even in terms of business. Now, there's this, many people have grown up with, I know, our curricula and our education system has been blamed, and there's been a call to even change, the curricula so that...
I'll join you. Let me leave you for a bit.
All right, sure, thank you so much. All right.
And those are only those who are committed to following our page. That does not mean that only 1 million people come to view our page. So as you can see, I have opened a page that shows you our Facebook reach. Here alone, we've been able to reach over 20 million people, which means we've been able to reach the entire Zambia, plus maybe another small country. It could be Finland, it could be Jamaica, but then we're able to reach the entire Zambia plus another country.
That's really a favor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I saluted you. Yeah, very okay. Very okay, very okay. You saw they wanted to go, but we kept them. Kind of we've reduced because of technology. This is our hobby van.
They seem very impressed about that.
Adi?
They were impressed.
Adi?
They were impressed with that.
Yeah.
Because they were short back, they were looking.
They're looking for
Yeah. But you can't open another feed of a breakfast show. How I wish. But what is this? You don't have internet?
I do.
Okay, just open the feed. Then when I'm explaining that, you can start again. Then when I'm saying the explanation, you can start again, then I can come and summarize. Yes, they're coming. There are about 3 teams. Ate? Ati? How's that? Ati? Akasiye nika part of explanation. Oh. So I'm very admired just go to say, "Ati, where is it?" I don't post again about it. The beaver is now here. You see why I wanted this. It has finished. Go play. No, it has finished. I want where we're sitting. Just play it a bit. Good. No. Just leave it. Yeah, just leave it there. No. Minimize it when giving explanation. You still for me. Oh.